If you are thinking of array index bound of exception, you're right. But if you are giving a pause, then this particular video is for you, because a pause costs a loss when you're attending an interview. Imagine if the interviewer shows this piece of code and then say find the bug in it. If you are not able to answer and you're not sure about what to say, then that is going to cost a job for you. So this particular video is for you if you are preparing arrays for your exam, if you are a college student or an engineering student. This particular video is for you if you are if you are preparing for a Java full stack developer, or if you are a senior developer and you want to improve in your programming. Okay, all the best. So what are we going to cover in this particular training? This particular video we're going to discuss about how arrays live in memory. We're going to talk about how you can have a strong foundation. We're going to discuss about the do's and don'ts of the arrays. We're also going to discuss about the effective Java best practices which senior developers already are applying. Instead of building, we are going to discuss about what are the common libraries which are available in Java, so that you can write quality code without writing the code. We are also going to discuss, we're going to try out at least 5 to 6 array programs in this particular video, and at least we're going to discuss on 10 interview questions. So this particular video is fully packed. So the question is, do you have that much time? Do you have 1 hour in it? So my suggestion to you is, spend 15 minutes in my video at any moment of time, pause it, go back. Next time when you find time, come back. In that way, watch my video 4 times and you can cover the whole video if you have a time restriction. But if you are a serious developer and you want to really build your career, sit in your desk, open your laptop, go through my YouTube video, open Eclipse and practice. I promise that I will help you in your career. That's my promise. That is Achala's promise. Hello everyone. My name is Achala Ramkrishna and welcome to this Java full stack development series. Now let's get started. I'm excited, I'm enjoying. So how do arrays live in memory? Now let me go back to, let us create a small Eclipse project on arrays. So this time I'm going to create a Maven project. The reason I'm creating a Maven project is we are going to get some libraries added. Okay, so you're going to select something like catalog as internal. I'm going to make another video on Maven. So the group ID is com.training, the artifact ID is array app, and then finish. Say yes. So if you are setting up Maven for the first time, this is taking. So Maven is a build management tool. Now if you have, if you are already having software development experience, then you will be have used Ant or Maven or Gradle. Now it's time to add the remove Java SC.108 and add JDK. So JRE system library, and you have like JDK 21 is installed. Wow, apply and close. Now we can actually, let's see if we are ready. Now let me run this particular hello world program, and if we are getting hello world, yay, we are ready. Now we can actually start coding. This is another way to create a Java project. Till now I have used Eclipse style of creating a Java project. Now we have done it. Now let's get started. Now there are two ways in which memory is allocated. So if it is a primitive data type like int num is equal to 100, okay, now just wanted to tell you that memory is allocated in stack. So you can actually see this particular slide. If you are actually declaring primitive variables like I, length, etc., the memory is allocated in stack. But if you are trying to allocate memory, let's say for an array, let's say you are trying to create an array. let us say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So whenever you're creating an array or an object, so what happens is you need to so dynamic memory allocation happens. So if you say int num is equal to 100, memory is allocated in stack. If you say if you allocate memory for an array, for example, what we can actually do is we can, okay, let's get started. Instead of doing this, let us say something like int arr. Okay. Okay, now I will tell you why we should not create brackets in the end like a C style convention. You should always declare it in the array. Now this is just a reference. Now how much memory is allocated for an integer, memory is allocated for this also, correct? Now array, this variable array is occupying the space how much a normal integer variable occupies. Now you say array is equal to int of, let's say, 5. Now memory 5, so you have to say new. So new is the keyword used for allocating memory dynamically. Now what is happening is in the memory, in the heap, 5 contiguous memory locations are getting created. So if you look into this slide, so you have something like 10, 5 memory allocations are there. Now what you can do is you can just say array is equal to 0 is equal to 10. Now I wanted to tell you that array index starts from 0, right? So okay, take your time, have patience, we are not in a hurry. Use your laptop and you can actually code. So 1, 2 and 3 and one more location. So I'm trying to code and show the slide at the same time. So this particular array, the elements are like 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. In this particular thing, the array also, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So this particular representation is like this. The first location is the 0th location. See, the index is 0. The second location is 1. So if an array has 5 elements, the indexes range from 0 to n minus 1, n being the length of the array, correct? Now if you want to know the length of the array, if you want to know the length of the array, you can actually say array dot length. Now remember one thing, this length is not a function or a method, it is just an attribute. People get confused, in the interview questions they say length, array dot length is going to give the length. Is it an attribute or a function? If you mumble, you lose. So whenever you're preparing for job interviews, you should just learn it, and then if you know well, you will perform well. That's the way it is. So this is how you actually display the length of the array, and this is how exactly it is going to represent. Now in case if you make a mistake of array of 5, most of the students or the young Java developers, they make a mistake. They say that they think that the array index starts with 1. So if so typically what is happening is memory key. So if you want me to define what exactly an array is, let's say I'm sitting in an interview and the interviewer asks, hey man, tell me what's an array. I'll say an array is a collection of similar elements of same data types. Another short, an array is a set of contiguous elements of same data type. The reason I said contiguous is the memory is allocated adjacently. Okay. Now if I say system dot out dot println array, now guess what is the output? You must be thinking that it is going to print 10, 20, 30, 40. So wow, you are getting array index out of bound exception. Guess why you're getting array index dot exception? Because array range starts from 0 to 4. If if the if the length of the array is 5, then it is from 0 to 4. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct? Now this particular line number 22 is the culprit, because of which you are getting array index out of bound exception. Now the good thing which I wanted to tell you is, as a developer you can get arrays, but you are good, you should be good at recovery. So if you get an error or an exception, if you know the root cause of the exception and if you fix it, you are a much better person than a person who doesn't make mistakes. Okay. Now when line number 25 system.out.println, it is actually showing the address. Okay, now if you want to display each and every element, either you can actually say like system.out.println, and then you can just say array of 0. So array of 0 is going to show you the data of the first location, you see. Or you can actually write a for loop. So you can say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. Now you're going to make a big mistake by hard coding the number, because you may not always declare an array of 5 size. Of course, array size is always fixed. So what you can instead, what you can actually say is array dot length. Now you can actually say system dot out dot println, and then you can just say array of 0, sorry, array of I. You have already seen my video on loops. So you use loops to uh, travel, you loops to iterate, you loops to go through the whole elements of the array. Now you know, right, I have my favorite thing, so I can actually say num for int num colon array system dot println num. Now what is the problem? It looks like I already have a variable called num, correct? Now let me change this to num1 so that I don't get that particular array. Now while coding, don't panic. See, I'm making a YouTube video and I'm not worried about whether I get an array or not. It's because when I fail and you see me failing, but you see me recovering, you see actually learning. So I never, you know, get scared of, you know, facing an error. Failure is part of our life. So this is I don't prefer writing a loop like this, because what if you start with a wrong index? What if you start with a wrong index? What if you give a wrong value? So you are always prone to errors. But if you see this particular loop, if index is not bothering you, right, and you just want to traverse the array, then this kind of for loop is the best. How is it? How is the session going so far? Are you enjoying? Okay. Now, as we have seen, an array is a set of contiguous elements of the same data type. Okay. Now the question is, let us actually have some fun. Now, after allocating the memory, let's say after allocating the memory and before initializing, let us try to display. So here I say system dot out dot println after allocating the memory. Okay, now what we will say is here we can say after initializing array. So guess what is the output? So you can actually see here the array values are 0 after allocating the memory. So I wanted to say that if I am allocating an array in other programming languages like C, C++, it is not guaranteed that they will be initialized to 0. So if you are using a boolean array, it will be false. If you are using string array, it will be null. If you are creating an array of objects, it will be a null. Java is much better placed as a programming language. That is the reason it is strongly typed. It is a very safe programming language because the Java JVM does most of our work behind the doors. So that's what exactly what I've thought. And then okay, so let us summarize this particular slide. We learned Java is having contiguous memory. Java's array size is fixed. So what happens? Okay, so in this particular line, array is equal to new int of 5. Now, after some time, you thought that I will actually say array is equal to new int of 10. Now, if you write this statement and then you execute this statement, this memory, this memory goes to garbage collection. Okay, and the new memory is allocated. Now we need to know how memory management works in Java. If not, you are in trouble, and I'm seriously saying you are in trouble. Now do not think that you have allocated 5 memory locations. Now you are allocating another 10 to the same memory location. No, the previous data is wiped out and the new data is getting created. If you don't know this, you are in trouble. You know, you are going to make some big mistakes while coding in Java. So you need to be extremely say that array size is fixed. If you try to reallocate the memory, the previous one goes for the garbage collection. Okay. Now I'm more interested in making sure that you learn arrays well. So uh, I'm not really interested in trying to close this video in 15 minutes, trying to make this as a viral video, because my style of teaching is pause my video for 15 minutes and learn and then continue. Okay, so how is the arrays going so far? Hope you're learning. Yeah, I'm enjoying a lot. Now let us go to the second slide. Here we are going to talk about do's and don'ts. So let me create a program called do array program. Sometimes I don't have any clue in how I'm giving names, and then I'll say something like don't array program, so that at least you can see, you know, what needs to be done and what needs to be done. So let's go to the don't array program. So uh, if you have an array, okay, and if you are trying to allocate like this, and then you say new int of 5. Okay, now and then, so this is totally good. Okay, this is basically C style, and and if you are a seasoned C developer or a C++ developer and you have upgraded to Java, then Java compiler takes this. But I say I don't recommend it. You'll ask me why I don't recommend it. Is because whether it is an array or not is to the data type. It is not to the variable. Now imagine that if I say int arr array, and then I'm declaring a variable called b. Okay, so okay, arr1 and b. So what does this infer to? This infers to saying that the first one is an array and the second one is a variable. Okay, now let us go back to do array program. What is the best way to declare an array? Is after the data type put the square bracket. After the data type put the square bracket. Rhyme it until you know remember it, and then you declare array is equal to new int of what, 5. Now this is the most recommended way. This is the most this is a recommended way of declaring it. So this is wrong, this is right. Now imagine that if I say int array and then I say arr1 and ARR2, then you understand that these two are integer arrays. Whereas here it says that the first one is an array, the second one is a normal variable. So you can make this kind of mistake. Let's say if you want to declare two arrays, it is it is not safe to declare the square brackets after the variable name. So my first do is declare the square brackets after the data type, not after the variable. Okay. Now the yes. Now the second don't. Okay, so recommended way, put square bracket after int. Okay, after the data type. Okay, now what is the next thing is, okay, so this is, okay, now this is don't one. Now what is the second point, don't two? Now when you declare an array, let's say, see, this is when you declare an ARR1, okay, and then you are trying to allocate memory, okay, 4. Okay, now when you reallocate the memory, this one goes for garbage collection, this one goes for garbage collection. Now so there is no way of creating new memory for an existing array. That's not at all possible. Now what is the solution? The solution is is the, the solution is not in arrays at all, right? You should actually use collection classes like list, etc., like array list, etc., instead of arrays. So what is the second do? The second point which I am trying to tell you is, do not allocate don't reallocate the memory from the same variable. Reassigning doesn't work. The old array is lost for garbage collection, correct? So instead what you can actually do is you can use collection classes, etc. Okay, now let us actually go for don't 3, you know. Okay, what you should not do, correct? Now let's say that, you know, you have something like int square bracket and then say a array ARR2 is equal to, let's say you have 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Now if you say int square bracket ARR3 is equal to ARR2, now you must be thinking that you made a copy out of it. If you talk about primitive variable, this is how you make a copy, right? But this is not a primitive data type. This is an array is a reference data type. So what happens is, if I change the location of the 0th element to 101, now if I say system.out.println, right, and then if I say ARR2 of 0, ARR2 of 0, now as I told you, I should not do this, right? Yeah, that's the reason I'm actually commenting it. Now if I put a semicolon here and right click and run as Java application, you are going to get data as 101. That means how exactly it works is it's very simple, you know. Let me use a sniping tool to explain. Let me use a sniping tool to explain. So there is a memory and you have the data. So let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now you have an array as a A1 and array as A2. So when you copy it, now both are pointing to the same location. So it doesn't matter whether you use a array 3 and change the value or array 2 has changed the value, it is actually referring to the same location. So my recommendation is do not copy references because it is not a deep copy, it is just a reference copy. Now what is the solution for it is you can actually say there is a function actually. So let's say int arr, okay, now this is my don't program, right? Okay, now I'll go back to my do program. So for copying array into another array, what exactly you have to do is, let's say that int arr2 is equal to, now you have something like 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Now if you now you can actually say int arr3, and then you can just say arr3 is equal to, there is something like arrays dot copy. I think arrays. See, if that method doesn't come, no, there is no copy of, and then you can just say array2, and you can actually say arr3 dot length, arr2 dot length. See, this particular thing does a deep copy. So if I say system dot out dot println arr3, so it's arrays dot toString arr3. Now you see when I run this particular program, you get 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is what I'm trying to say arr3. Okay, now I'm going to change arr3 of 0 to 101. Okay, after that I'm going to print arr3 and arr2. Now you see this code practically. Now what we discussed in the don't array is, if you try to declare an array and try to just do a reference copy, that you create a reference and you just assign. So when you change the data of via one reference, you can see the arr2 also the data is getting changed. Clear? Now let us come back to the do array program. Now do not copy references. Instead, there is use library methods. So there is a method called arrays.copy, and then you see that you are trying to say arr2, and you are specifying the array2 whose data is like 1 2 3 4 5, and then you see that there is something like ar2 dot length. So this guy is going to return an array. Okay, and when you make changes to arr3, correct, when you make changes to arr3, so and let's say this is arr2, got it? Now when I run this particular program, you can see the third arr3 data has changed, correct, whereas arr2 the data has not changed, it is still 2 only, correct. So most of the developers, what they do is they just copy the references and they get caught. Instead use deep copy. So Arrays.copyOf is a method to create another copy instead of just assigning like primitive variables, correct. Now there is one more thing which we should actually do is, I'm going to get into the details later, but let me explain to you. Whenever you are trying to use an array, right, try to check if the array is having array is not null and the length is greater than 0. Okay, then you start using it in your calculation. Otherwise you'll land up in trouble, right? You are going to get errors and all kind of things. So this particular slide talks about do's and don'ts. Okay, so what does Joshua block says? in his famous book of Effective Java, he recommends in item number 25, do not use arrays. Instead, use lists, the collection classes like array list and all. Is because you can dynamically increase the array using lists, whereas arrays are always fixed, and there are some type safety issues and all kind of things. So tough. Prefer list to arrays. That's what he is actually trying to say. Okay. Now let us actually, the next thing what we will do is we will start writing some code sizes for arrays. The first program what we will do is we will sort the array. Okay. Now let's say that you have an array called arr pi is equal to, and let me put some random data in it. So 34, 5, 67, 123, 1, and then 27. Now I wanted to tell you something, which is very important. Hear me out. Don't miss out. Now you want to, the first option is you want to code. Second option is you wanted to use the library provided by Java or some external sources like Apache or Google, etc. Now I want to tell you one thing. The first option you want to code looks exciting, but it has got its own vulnerability. Now there are chance that you might have a bug in the code, and in production, right, it can fail, or it can be it can have memory issues, performance issues, etc. Now my recommendation to you is, the first preparation of you want to code, okay, don't prefer it. Rather use the library which is provided by Java or very trusted sources like Apache, Google, etc. Okay. Now for the sake of learning the logic, okay, let me code it, but I'm going to trash the code is because I really don't prefer it. Now if you want to sort this particular array, you can easily write a for loop. Okay, now sorting the array. Now you can actually say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than array dot length minus 1 I plus plus. Now I'll say for int j is equal to 0 or j is equal to I, j is less than array dot length and j plus plus. Now I'll declare a variable called temp, called int temp is equal to 0. Now you need nested loops to sort the array. Now here I can say if array of I greater than array of j, then I can just say temp is equal to array of I, array of I is equal to array of j, and then array of j is equal to 10. Now if I try to display, now how to display? In one line you can actually display, right? System.out.println, you can just say arrays dot toString of array. Now here let me say after sorting, so that you are correct, you are much better placed. Now when I run this particular program, when I run this program after sorting, it's kind of sorted like 1 5 2 7 3 4 67 123. So this is like a just baked code. Okay. Now I wanted to tell you one thing. There can be multiple issues. You might make a logical mistake, or this might have some memory issues and all kind of things. So this is not my preference. What is my preference? Let me write it down. Okay, system dot out dot println preferred way to sort the array. See, this is my experience talking. So what you can actually do is you can actually say int new array. Okay, remember I told you square brackets have to be after the data type. Don't ever forget. Okay, now I can actually say arrays dot copy of and sorry, we are talking about sorting, right? Sometimes I forget, so let us say arrays dot, then you have sort of array. So system dot out dot println, right? When I do array, okay, now what I will do is, for some reason I'll comment this code, because this code has already sorted the data, right? So you might think that I'm just showing the sorted thing, right? So I have commented my previous code which I have written for sorting, and now you see this particular line, preferred way of sorting. Now when I run this particular program, okay, so I should say arrays dot toString of array. Now when I right click and run this as a Java application, you can actually see it is actually doing the same job. Now think about it, in a matter of less than 10 seconds, just call the method, move on. Why you want to spend 10 minutes, write the logic and all? Do not invent the wheel, use a ready-made wheel, it's like, don't prepare the food, get quality food. That's what I was trying to say, because it saves time, number one. The number two is, this particular method arrays.sort has been used millions of times by other developers and they have succeeded. So it is good to succeed from others. So always call a library and get the work done instead of you doing it. Okay. Another exercise, let us do binary search. So I'll say binary search program. Now, okay. Now imagine that you have an array. Let me go to that sorted array and take this particular data. So, right? Okay. Now the operation is going to be costly, correct? If if the array is not sorted. So what you do is you say arrays dot sort of array, correct? Now what you can actually do is, if you want to see, I already gave you rights, right? Do not write your own code. If there is a library which is available, use it, because be smart, don't work hard. That's what I was trying to say. So if I say int index is equal to arrays dot, and then there is a binary search. The first argument is the array and the second argument is the element. So let us search for 67. Now if I say system dot out dot println and then I give the index, correct? Now you can actually see when I run the program, right, it will give you the output as 4. That means 0 1 2. Okay, see, I'm sorry. I think what I should have done is I should have displayed out.println and then I should have displayed arrays.toString of array. This is system.out.println after sorting. Now you see, after sort and then the data comes perfect. Now 0 1 2 3 4. So this is the index of 67, that is 4. Now, what if you say that 13 and 13 data is actually not there? You are going to get a negative value for sure. See, it is giving some negative value when you don't, when the binary search is not successful, and when the binary search is successful, it is actually doing it. I hope you have liked this particular method called Arrays.binarySearch program. What we will do is we will we will find the minimum, maximum, and the sum of the array elements. So if let's say that let's declare an array is equal to, let's say you have some data. Okay, so this is an array. Now the condition which is do not sort it. Do not sort it. It's once array is sorted, the first element is the minimum element, the second element is the maximum element, right? No, it's not like that. So we should solve it without sorting. Now let us try this. So the best way to do is you have to declare, let's say you will say int min is equal to 0 or array of 0, and int max is equal to array of 0. I'm just writing it, I'm just initializing the first element. Okay, the next thing which I am trying to do is, let us try to travel. So let us say for int num, okay, array, correct. This is how that loop is written, right? Now let us declare another variable called sum and initialize to 0. Now the first element is 12, right? So we'll say sum plus equal to num, correct. So this is taking care of the sum part. Now you can say if num is less than min, then you can actually say min is equal to sum, else you can actually say else if num is greater than max, and then you can actually say max is greater than num. Now you can make small logical mistakes of putting sum and all, you get into trouble actually. Now okay, now and after the for loop is over, I can actually say system dot out dot println and then say min, and then say min system dot out dot println, and then you say max, and then you can actually say system dot out, and then you can just say sum, and then you can actually just add it. Now you can actually see, looks like I have an error somewhere. I can actually fix it. The spelling is wrong. Now when I right click here, right, and run the program, the minimum element is 1, the maximum element is 543, and the sum of all the elements is 784. Look how nicely we have done it without sorting the array. I hope you have liked this particular program. Now let us try next program. The next programming is rotate array right by k positions. What do you mean by rotating array right by k positions? So you look at the test scenario. So the input array is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you want to rotate it by 5. The last element 5 comes to the first position and the remaining, the first 4 will go there. So if you want to rotate by 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 array becomes 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you want to rotate by 2. Then the last two digits will come first and the remaining things will go next, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Similarly, if you want to rotate by 3, 30, 40, 50 will come first and the remaining will be the rest. So let's go about doing it. Now I am in the Eclipse workspace, and always it is good to write the comment here like rotate array by k positions. Now let's declare the input array. So we'll say int square bracket input array is equal to, and then you can say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Okay, and then we'll say value. I mean by rotate value is equal to uh, 2. Okay, let's start with 1. The rotate value being 1. Now how can we fix it? Now the best way to fix it is mm, the best way to fix it is, just a second. Let's declare the k value as 1 to start with. I need to have two arrays. Let's say int first array, bring this closer to this fellow, okay, and then we can declare the second array. Now technically the first array should contain 1 2 3 4 and the second array should contain 5. So we need to allocate memory is equal to new of int of. So we will take the input array's length minus the value of k. So 5 minus 1 is 4. Now the second array is new of int of k. So that's exactly it is. Now what is the problem? Yeah, we shouldn't have declared this. Okay, cool. Now we need a for loop to get into it. So we can actually say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than input array dot length minus k I plus plus, and then we can actually say like first array of I is equal to input array of I. Okay, now let me save this particular program. See, it's good to test the code, before we get in, before we dive to the next part. So it's a system.out.println and then say arrays dot toString of first array. Fantastic. Now when I run this particular program, you can actually see 1 2 3 4 is part of the first array. Fantastic. Now we will go to the second array. Now we can actually say actually I have a small suggestion. We Yeah, now we can actually say for int j is equal to 0, uh, j is less than k j plus plus. Now but this should start from input array minus length input array dot length minus k. So I guess so, let us see. And then we should say something like second array of j is equal to input array of j. Okay, so I think here I can just say int L is equal to 0, and then here I can say L plus plus. Okay, now when I do system.out.println and say arrays dot toString of second array, you can actually see the second array should contain 5. No, the second array should contain 5. I think we have gone wrong. Let me try again. declare a small variable as m is equal to 0, and then we will get into the for loop. Int uh, int l is equal to, let us say, um, input array dot length minus k. L is less than input array dot length l plus plus, and then you can actually say second array m plus plus is equal to input array of l. Now when I try to display the second array, now you can actually see the output. So the first array is having 1 2 3 4 and the second array is having 5. Now we will declare a final array over here. We'll declare another array called final array, and yes, and we need to allocate memory for the final array also, like new of int of input array dot length, because final array will be the same of the input array. Now since we are rotating by k positions, right, first we will copy second array into final array and then we will copy, so the thing, so copying second array in the final array. So I'll declare int index is equal to 0, right, for int whatever int p is equal to 0, p is less than first array dot length p plus plus. Here we can actually say final array of index plus plus is equal to second array of p. Okay, now we can actually say int q is equal to 0, q is less than equal to second array dot length. Okay, here I think we should say second array, and here I should say first array. Q plus plus. Now final array index plus plus is equal to first array of q. Now when I let me say system.out.println, and then we can say final array. In order to display, we can actually use Arrays.toString of final array. Okay, so let me suppress the previous output, because I have used that for testing purpose. Now when I right click here, run as and Java application, I got it. The final array as 5 1 2 3 4. Now we can actually try, if you want to rotate by 2, what should be the output? 4 5 1 2 3. So if I put the k value as 2, then you can actually, when you want to rotate it, then it is like 4 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3. Now if the array elements contain 10 20 30 40 50, so let us say if the array elements contain 10 20 30 40 and 50, and you want to rotate by 3 positions, then the output should be 30 40 50 10 20 today. So let us try to merge two sorted arrays. So what are we trying to do right now? We are trying to merge two sorted arrays. So let's say if first array, so remember you have to put square bracket after the int, Okay, so let's say you have something like 2 comma 4 comma 3 comma 60 56 comma 78 comma 102 comma 34. Okay, now let us create a second array. Okay, so the first thing is it has to be sorted. So we can actually say arrays dot sort of first array and arrays dot sort of second array. Okay, now I can actually write something like system dot out dot println before sorting. So if first array is arrays dot toString of first array, now system dot out dot println second array. Here I say arrays dot toString of second array. Now after sorting, let us see what happens. So let me write this particular program here. So after sorting, if I have to display, now when I right click the and run the program, then you can actually see before sorting you have the data, and after sorting the data has been sorted. Good. Now you want to merge the array, right? So let us declare merged array is equal to new of int of first array dot length plus second array dot length. Now in order to merge this particular thing, you can actually say int index is equal to 0. Now I can actually say for num in for int num colon first array, and then I'll say final array index plus plus is equal to num. Sorry, I meant by the merged array. Okay, now what we can actually do is I can repeat that for the second array also. That's about it. Now if system dot out dot println, you can actually say merged array arrays dot toString of merged array. Now when we run the program, you get the output. Hooray! So you get 2 3 4 34 102. Yeah, so I kind of merged the sorted array. Now in on top of it, if I say arrays dot sort of merged array and try to display, and right click and run the program, then you get the output. Yeah, you actually get the output. So this is how you merge two arrays. But I am not favor of writing this much of code. You have Apache Commons library for utility classes, or Google Gova is not coding. Surprised? I'll tell you one thing. So far you have seen that in order to merge an array, you have written the code. In order to find the minimum or the maximum or the sub, you have written the code. The problem with coding is you are creating an opportunity for the bugs. Now the smartest way to work is use the experience of experienced Java developers. Now I just wanted to tell you that Java itself have a bunch of classes in the java.util package we have arrays as a class, and then there is an Apache common util library where also you have a class called array utils. Google Go comes up with its own classes for arrays. So suggestion is, do not write raw code because it is prone to errors. You might get exceptions and all, but rather use this. So let us start the journey of finding how these libraries help us in achieving the same thing. Now let us, so basically this is a Maven based project, and you need to include the libraries. So looks like I have it here. So you have one thing for Apache Commons. Okay, Apache Commons is done. The second thing is the Google Go library. Google library. Now we can actually say something like source and format. Fantastic. Now if you go to libraries here, right, in Maven dependencies, you can see Apache common lang is there, common util is there, everything is there. Okay. Now let me explain to you how not to write a code. See here, here we have written our own logic to find the minimum and maximum. Here we are written our own logic to rotate positions by k array. Here we have written our own logic to do a lot. Now the time has come to use the array library. So I will create a program as array library program. So basically what we are doing is, we are not writing the code, we are trying to achieve the same thing by using the classes which are part of these libraries. The more classes you know, the smarter you are, because you can confidently write push this particular code in production. Now let us start with java.utils.arrays. You can just say import java.util.arrays. So done. Now let us do one thing. Let us declare a simple array. Now we'll say int array, int square bracket array is equal to, you can actually say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Now one of the ways to do is to write a for loop. So you say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than array dot length I plus plus, and then you can actually say system dot out dot println array of I. Now this is the way you basically have to display. The other style of displaying is system dot out dot println another for is, you will actually say for int num colon array, and then you can actually say system dot out dot println num. See, even I prefer the second approach than the first approach. I prefer the second approach of displaying. But imagine that you are doing something else and I don't like it. So then we can actually use arrays dot toString. This is much smarter way to display the array. So we basically have to write single line system dot out dot println, and then you can say arrays dot toString and array. Now imagine you have written the code. Okay, now let's run the program, and then you can actually see 1 2 3 4 5. Now the most important thing is, this is from Java library, so it has been proven, millions of programmers have already used it. It is going to work in production 110%. So if you just want to know or display the content of the array, no need to write these many lines of code. If you make an error in initializing or incrementation and all, you are losing a lot of things. So this is arrays.toString method. Now we have seen how to display the array using arrays.toString. Now let us sort the array. So you have this particular array where you have the data like 23 45 56 etc. Now if you want to sort, right, you just have to say arrays.sort and part the array name. you can actually display it saying system.out.println array arrays.toString of array. Now let me add a sysout before sorting and system.out.println after sorting. Let me display the data before sorting. Okay, so if I run this particular program, you can actually see before sorting this was the data, after sorting it has done it. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake which I'm correcting it. Okay, so never write the code of sorting if you are really want to use, unless you are trying some data structures and all. Otherwise there is no point of sorting the code, it actually does it. Arrays.toString arrays.sort, and the next thing is to do binary search. Now binary search, people have written tough programs using binary search in C++ and Java, but java.util.arrays class provides that particular facility. Now if I want to search, let's say int search element is equal to 212, okay, and if I say arrays, okay, int index is equal to arrays dot binary search of, you pass this array and then you give 212. Now when let us predict the output, system dot out dot println and then give something like index and index. Now one thing which I wanted to say, that is, uh, now that the array is sorted, it's the prerequisite of binary searching for better performances, it has to be sorted. Now 212 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, the output should be 7. Let's see, there it is. Binary search, no need to write code for how to calculate. Arrays dot binary search is there. Thank you. See the array. Now what do you mean by copying the array? Now we have an array over here. Now let us create another array called array1, and we'll say array thing. So what exactly this does? Do you think it does the copy? Let's see what it does. So if you say array1 is equal to array, it is actually not copying the array. Both array1 and array are refer to the same location. So if I say array1 of 3 is equal to 404, right, and then if I say system.out.println, and if I say arrays dot toString of array, see, even though I have changed the second array, the first array data is also getting changed. So this proves that this is actually not copy. Both, I have created another reference variable pointing to the same memory location which the previous array is doing. So let me comment this particular thing. This is exactly not the way to do. Now how to go about doing it? Now java.util.arrays has that particular functionality. So I can actually say that something like int array1 is equal to, and then arrays.copyOf. The first location is array, and here easily I can say array.length. Now if I do array.1, right, you can actually see Java application, another copy got created, correct? Now this is, let's say, array, and now let us display the array2 also, array1. So when I run this application, you can see there are two data sets. They are not one data set, they are two data sets. Now if I change, let's say, if I change after this copy, if I change the fourth location of array1 to 404, now let us see how the output is. Looks like there is a small array error. No, okay. Now when we run this particular program, you can actually see that the second array value got changed, the first array is as it is. So do not write your own code of copying the array to one array to another. It's a good thing, but use the library, that is arrays.copyOf. It is one of the easiest way. You got two arrays, array 1 and array 2, and if you want to compare whether those two arrays are same, what happens if you do if array 1 equal to array 2, system dot out dot println both are same, else system dot um, both are not same. Now when I run this particular program, let's check what the output you get. It is saying both are not same is because these two arrays are two different references pointing to two different memory location. The content being the same, since they are two different memory locations with two sets of array data, it is saying both are not same. But in this case, if you really want to check if the content is same or not, instead of double equal to, use equals method. So equals method is the way to check if the content of both the errors are same or not. So this is how the equals method works. So now also it says both are not same. Oh, so there is a method called equals of the arrays class. You just have to say array 1 and array 2. Now let us see what is the output you get. See, you got the output as both are same. So if you want to compare the content of two arrays, you don't have to write a code, you just use the equals method of the arrays class, and that is going to tell if the content of both the arrays are is empty. Let's try it out. So you got two classes, two arrays over here. The first array contains 1 2 3 4, the second array contains 4 5 and 6. So this particular method array utils dot and then you have something like add all and then I'm going to put array 1 and array 2 as the thing. So if you see the return type of add all, it is showing you the third array. Now we can actually say here int merge array is equal to, now if I want to display the data, I can actually say system.out.println merge array. Let's run this program. Here it is. So you need to say arrays.toString of merged array. So let's try to run the program. Here it is. So it is such a easy way to merge two arrays. So if you know this Apache common utils array utils class, half of your problems are solved. You don't have to write a raw code to merge array again. Similarly, if you wanted to check if a particular check if an element is in the array. Now if I say something like array utils dot contains, now this guy is returning, you see, the boolean value. So boolean is available, and then here I'm going to put array 1, and here I'll put the value of 2. So if I say system dot out dot println and then is available, you can actually see the output coming. So when I right click and run the Java application, the value is true. Now in the now in the array one I don't have element called 8. So you can actually see the data is false. So contents is a nice method to check if the data is available or not. Similarly, you have index of also. So index of will return the index of that particular data. So you see here, if I say index of, and if I say int, okay, now when I run this program, uh, it returns -1 is because 8 is not available in array 1, but 2 is available, right? So you get the data. So this is such a nice way to check and get the index of that particular data. So we have seen add all contains index of. If you want to reverse an array, this is some of the famous thing, right? So you can actually say uh, array utils dot reverse and pass array 1. Now what is the return type of reverse? It doesn't return. Okay, now if I say system dot out dot println, and then you can say arrays dot toString of array 1. Now you see 1 2 3 4 would have become 5 4 3 2 1. That means it has easily reversed the array. I love this, this is interesting. Finally, if you want to remove an array, you can actually say array utils dot remove, correct, and you can actually put array 1 and the index being 2. Now we can actually say boolean status. Now what I okay, this doesn't return anything. Now if I want to display the array again, so and then run the program here. Now you can see, 1 second. So yeah, the return type, so we'll declare. Now you see 431. So if you want to remove an array element, then you can actually declare and third array is equal to array utils dot remove, and the first one is array 1. Let's say you want to remove the second element. Let us display array 3. Okay, so array 1 was having 4321. Now array 3 will have 43. Okay, so we need to say arrays dot to string. Now let's run it. So you can actually see 431. So 2 has been 2 has disappeared. So these are the nice interesting methods like add all, contains, index of, reverse, remove. If you want to check if an array is empty or not, you have it. Similarly, you have Google Goa arrays, where you can easily get the max element, the min element. Question: what is the default value of elements in new int 5? According to me, it will be 0. Now let us start here as int square bracket ARA is equal to new of int of 5. So if we do something like system.out.println arrays dot toString of array, you will get 0 0 0 0 0 5 times. So this is easy to say that the default values are all 0 0 0 0. So this is the first question. The second question is, what does arr.length return for int 3 comma 4? Now let us declare a double dimensional array d array is equal to new of int of 3 comma 4. So the array dot arr dot length returns the value 3. So it will display the row length. So if I say a d array dot length, it is going to show the row length. See, that is the answer is 3. Let's go to the next question. What happens if you say object obj is equal to new string of 3, where object of 0 is equal to 42? Now we declared this as a string array, and if we are storing a 42, you are actually storing an invalid data. So invalid object store exception you are going to get, invalid that array store exception you are going to get. I think we should, this is worth trying. So when I say object obj is equal to new of string of 4, and if we say object of 2 or 2 is equal to, when you do 42, when I say system dot out dot println, and then you try to, okay, now let us run the application. So you can actually see that you're getting an exception called array store exception. So in case if you are declaring an array of strings and you store an array of integer, you're going to get this error called array store exception. This is an interesting interview question. How do you reverse an array in place 0 1 space? Purpose of freshers. Okay. Now the question number 1: what is the default value of elements in a new int 5? That means when you declare an array, let's say I have declared an array called array and put a square bracket after int is equal to new of int of 5. So the question which is asked is, what is the default value? So the best thing is if I say system dot out dot println arrays dot toString of array. Guess what is the answer? What are you thinking? Are you thinking all are going to be zeros? Absolutely, you are correct. It's like your one count banega crorepati. Yes. So the data is 0 0 0 0 0. That means the default data for an array is 0. Unlike other programming languages like C, C++, you can rest assured that Java initializes the data to zeros if it is boolean value, it is false, if it is string, it will be spaces, etc. Fantastic. Now the next question: what does arr.length return for int 3 4? Wow, this is so good. This is so good. So the question is, what does arr.length return for int 3 and 4? Let us start now. Okay, so we'll discuss arr. Okay, is equal to new of int of 3 comma 4. Now I just wanted to tell you, when I do system dot out dot println arr dot length, if it is a double dimensional array and you use the name of the array and give length, right, then it will give you the row size. What is the row size? 3. So the answer is going to be 3. Sahi jawab. It's a good answer. It's a right answer. So all that, this is how they trick. They give a double dimensional array and ask for you for length, and then I'm going to. I think there is a question on jagged array. I'm going to take it. Okay, that's a question number 8. Now, what happens? Okay, the next interview question. Okay, so there is an object array is equal to new string 3 object 042. Okay, so this is a very interesting question. You see, there is an object, that means every class extends from object, right? So right now obj is equal to new of string of 4. So you are trying to say that that array contains strings. In spite of that, if you go to the third location, that is the fourth location, and what happens if you assign 42? Now this is to be honest, you have declared a string array and you are storing an integer. So that is an invalid data store, right? So I have to see, okay, guess what is the answer? Are you going to get a null value or are you going to get an exception? Yes. My guess is you'll get an exception. Exception, exception, exception. Array store exception. If you want to be a good Java developer, you need to have a grip on exception, because the moment you get exception, you realize it, you fix your code, you move forward. Okay, you should not search on that exception. You should have a solid grip on exception. So, if at all you declare a string array and you store any other data type value, you're going to get invalid store exception. Okay, good. Now let us go to the next question. How do you reverse an array in place of 0 1 space? Now this is a very interesting question. What is the question? How do you reverse an array? Okay, now let me do one thing. Let me take a new program. New program helps. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Public static void main. So this is a new program altogether. Now what are we trying to do? We are trying to reverse an array with 0.1 space complexity. Now there are two things. One is time complexity, the other one is space complexity. Time complexity is not exactly the time, how much time you are solving it, but as the code increases or as the program complexity increases, does it increase the time? Let's say you are fetching a 1 MB file. Let's say it takes 2 to 4 seconds. Let's say you are fetching 100 MB file, then it will definitely take like a minute or more. So the time complexity increases if the data increases. That's exactly what is time complexity. Now the space complexity is in terms of memory usage. So that means that imagine if the complexity of the program is less, it takes 1 MB of memory. If the complexity increases, if the amount of memory, let's say you are allocating memory dynamically, okay, for 10 integer elements, so you'll have a limited space to be used. Let's say you are creating an array of dynamic memory for 100,000 elements. So obviously the memory increases. The memory increases, the space complexity increases. So O to the power of n it becomes. That means it will grow. O to the power of 1 is, no matter how complex the code grows, the memory footprint remain the same. Now let's try this. Let us say int arr, okay, is equal to 23 comma 56 comma 2 comma 345 comma 65. Now let me reverse it. So let us declare int start is equal to array of array, okay, int start is equal to 0, int end is equal to array dot length. -1. Now I can actually say, if I have to just reverse the array, I can say while end is uh, greater than start, and then let's say system dot out dot println array of end. Let's run this program. I get okay. Now it went to an infinite loop is because I haven't said end minus minus. This is a common mistake which we all make. So you get 65, 345 to 65. Let us say 63, and let us say greater than equal to. Congratulations, now you get the data. Now the question about the O of one space complexity is if the array grows. So if I say 77, 88, 99, 55, 44. Okay, currently we are dealing with two variables, start and end, and then the array. Okay, so if the array size grows, does reversing the array, do you need more memory? That's the question. So no, only start and end is good enough, right? Now this logic is treated as a good memory efficient code, because for reversing the array I'm not declaring any extra memory. So it is O to the power of 1 complexity. So it's an interesting question. Always remember one thing is, when you go for job interviews, especially coding interviews, they're not going to look at whether the logic is working or not only. They're looking at time complexity. Let's take the next question. When would you prefer an array over array list? If an array is a fixed size of primitive data type, that is an integer array of 4 elements 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll go for a integer. But if there is a chance of expanding the array, then you are stuck if you are using an array. Let's say you have an initial array of 10 elements. Now the requirement has changed. Now you need to extend it to 14 elements. With normal primitive integer array, you can't do anything. You can't extend the size of an array. Whereas an array list is the most preferred one for that. Dynamically, you can keep on adding the elements, it handles by itself. So prefer array over array list if you want to, if you expect the array size to be increasing dynamically. I go for array list. Don't use arrays in such cases. The next question is, can array size change after creation? No. Why does ARR1 double equal to ARR2 return false for equal arrays? See, when you have two array and you are using double equal to, it is comparing the references. It is not comparing the content. If you want to compare the content, then you have to say arrays.equals. Now, what is the difference between arrays.copyOf and system.array_of_copy? Arrays.copy returns a new array. Arrays.copy copies in the existing array. Okay, so I think I will write a small piece of code to explain this. This is interesting. See, what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to, if there is a scope of writing 4 lines of code to explain the program, then I'm going for it. Okay, so let's say that this is an array. Okay, now if we wanted new array, I'm sorry, don't declare square brackets in the end. I am really sorry. Now you can actually say array dot, okay, so you can actually say array dot copy of. The first element is an array and the second element is from the starting thing. Now if I say system dot out dot println new array dot, sorry, array dot toString and new array. Now when we when we run this program, you can actually see why is it? Yeah. Now let us declare a new array and then say Arrays.copyOf. So the first parameter is array. The second parameter is a new length. So I can easily say array.length. That means, okay, now when I do system.out.println, you can actually say arrays.toString of new array. So when we run this particular program, you can actually get the array copy. So the new array got printed over here. So if you use copy of when you want a new array to be created. Now there is another function called let's say src is equal to 1 2 3 4. Okay, now I'll say int destination is equal to new of int of 4. Now there is a functionality called system.arrayCopy. The first parameter is thing source. The second parameter is the source position. The third parameter is destination. The fourth parameter is destination position. The fifth parameter is the length. Now let me try this. This is interesting. So when we do like system.out.println, right, arrays dot toString of destination. So when I run this program, you will be getting the same output. So my suggestion to you is use arrays.copyOf when you want a new array, and use array system.arrayCopy when you are trying to update an existing array. And in fact, I want to tell you, if you have bulk data, then system.arrayCopy is most preferred. Please use it. I love this particular question. Do you love it? Unless you are learned, right, you will not know this. Those who know some basics of arrays will not know what is a jagged array. So let us understand. So let us create a 2D array. So we will say something like int, and then we'll say 2D array. So since it is a two-dimensional, we have to put two square brackets is equal to new of int. And okay, now I'm trying to say as 4. Okay, now the interesting part in this particular question is I want to tell you, a variable name cannot start with a number. This is something which is very interesting. You can't make that mistake. Now I can actually say 2D array of of zeros position. Yeah, is equal to new of int of 1. Now let me copy this. 2 3 and 4. That means in the two-dimensional array, the first row is having one element, second row is having two elements, third row is having three elements, fourth row is having four elements. Let's do one thing. Let's do some initialization. 0 comma 0 is equal to 1. Let me copy this. Okay, now the first one is 0 comma 0. The second row is 1. Okay, so here I'll put something like 10 and 20. Now the third row is the row number index is 2. You need to be relaxed. You can't code in tension. 100, 200, 300. Okay. Now the last thing is the row, the index is 3. Now let us add 1000, 1000, 3000 and 4000. Now let us actually say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 2D array of length I plus plus. Now you can say for int j is equal to 0, j is less than 2D array of I dot length. It's so easy, j plus plus. Here you have to say j and j plus plus. See, programming is going to be easy if you are careful. No, you are cautious. So system dot out dot println, and then you can say 2D array of I and say. Now, what is a jagged array? The jagged array is the column size is not fixed for all the rows. Simple. So I'm able to display the data. It works. You got a null pointer exception in 1. Mm. Okay, see, whenever you get an error, no, you should not panic. I think here I have to say 1, you have to say 2, you have to say 3. We make small mistake, this is normal for anybody. So index 1 out of bound exception for length 1, index 1. Okay. So the best part is it is displaying 1, and then when it came to I value as yeah, this is an interesting question. Index 1 out of bound for length 1. Now let us display the jagged array. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than 2D array dot length I plus plus. Now displaying the row contents. For int j is equal to 0, j is less than 2D array of I dot length comma j plus plus. Now if I have to display, I can actually do like this: system dot out dot print, and then I can just say 2D array of I and j. Okay, something like this. And here I can put a small system dot out dot println, so that the data comes in a matrix format. Now let us try run this application. Hey, this is how the data is getting displayed. So all those Java professionals who have seen only the linear double dimensional array where the column size is fixed. Now you see you can have say different columns for the same double dimensional array. That's known as what is known as jagged array. That's great. Now let us pick up the next question. What does arrays.binarySearch return when elements are not found? So I think I'll continue in a new program. Just a minute. I will create the last question. What does arrays.binarySearch return when an element is not found? Okay. Now this is an array. Now for binary search to work, the most important thing is we should actually say arrays.sort of array. Now sorting the array is very important. Now you can actually say int index is equal to arrays dot binary search. The first is the element name and then the second one is, let's say, 30. Now I would love to print the sorted array so that you are comfortable with the output. Now when we, okay, now we print it. Now let us actually print the index also. Okay, now let me run this program. Excited. So array is sorted and the array index is 2. 2 meaning 0, 1, 2. That means the third position. See, 30 is in the third position. Now in case if you say 300 and you see this array doesn't contain 300, the output is guess, guess, guess. Yes, you're right. The answer is -1 or some negative value it gives. So if the binary search gives a negative value, assume that the data is not found. Yeah. So thank you for attending this particular video. I really thank you for going through each one of it. So if I summarize this particular whole videos, we started with what is an array, right? We discussed on creating a single dimensional array, double dimensional array, everything. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending this particular video on arrays of Java. So what are the key takeaways? The core points which you have learned from this training is array index is 0 to length minus 1. Okay, number 1, when you copies, it actually copies references. When you say arr1 is equal to arr2, both it creates a new reference. It doesn't actually do a real copy. So you have to do arrays.copyOf to do a true copy. Correct? Now if you want to compare the content of the array, you have to use equals. If it is a double dimensional array, use deep equals. Never use double equal to for comparing the arrays. Fine. If you just want to print an array, it will show some useless output. Whereas if you want to show the content of the array, use arrays.toString. Wow. Always do null check and empty check before any array operation. Be safe. If you want to sort an array or do a searching, then use arrays.sort and arrays.binary search. Very, very useful. It is mandatory. This doesn't have any exceptions. Okay. Now, as as part of effective Java, use array list. Instead of bare arrays, if you want the array to be dynamically increasing. I would like to request all my audience to subscribe this particular channel called RoboDynamics, and please share it with your friends and your fellow developers and your fellow college mates. Thank you very much. The next video will be on strings of Java. Excited. Thank you. Bye bye. All the best.